Fear is perhaps one of the biggest motivating factors in all of our lives. I know within my own life anyway that most of the time when I get something done, it's because I'm afraid. In the past, when I was in college, really the only thing that got me to study was the idea of failure. I think fear also gives us a lot more motivations, or rather disincentivizations as well. I would say fear is probably the main reason why people are so afraid to do the things that they want to do. I guess my message here today generally is to just do it. Do it even if you're scared. Do it even if you're anxious, even if you're really tired. And I think most particularly, even if it's not perfect. I myself right now, I'm in a campground, and I'm in a very beautiful place. It's Bruce Peninsula National Park in Canada. And, this campground's really beautiful. I'll give it that. Take a look at the background back there. But, at the same time, is it necessarily perfect? Is it exactly where I would want to film it? No. I think where I would want to film it are probably in one of the cuts I showed at the beginning of the video where, the fucking smoke is getting in my eyes. There's a campfire right there. Probably in one of the places that, I filmed earlier. I didn't bring the correct equipment to do that though. And that made me feel upset that, I came all this way and, I really had my heart set on making a video here. And yet I still didn't completely do it exactly how I wanted to. However, as you can see, that's not stopping me. I am still doing it, even though the idea of having it be not perfect makes me feel anxious and like I don't want to do it at all anyway. Here I am, though, still doing it because I care about it. I think one of the main things to think about when you are feeling anxious or scared about doing something is, why do you want to do it in the first place? For me, with making these videos, it's an outlet for myself. I feel like it gives me the potential to connect with other people. I think it allows me to explore more parts of myself that I probably wouldn't have been able to find without having done this, right? And I think it's, really nice overall. I often let myself get distracted with the fear aspects, in my life generally, particularly as it pertains to this. I did wish I started doing this earlier. I'm doing it now, which is enough. There's a lot of times where I felt too afraid to even try. And that doesn't even go for this. That goes for a lot of things in my life. When I was in college, I started as a music major. Music was a big part of my life in high school, and it still is now. And, I think I picked that, on the surface because it's something I was interested in, but really because I was afraid to pick something I was more interested in. I eventually realized that I was afraid that I was picking this ultimately as well because it's something I didn't want to do, but also that I was afraid of doing something I was more wanting to do that was more representative of myself and that didn't align with how other people saw me. And so I switched to neuroscience, and it was the best switch I ever made, and I completed a degree and I have it now. And looking back, I am so happy that that was, the choice that I made for myself was just to do what I wanted to do for myself, even though I was afraid that, I would fail because, a field like that is very difficult. And I felt anxious that I would disappoint people in my life, that I had put myself up to be someone that they know me as, or really to a degree felt like I should be. But beside that, to say it more concisely, I was afraid to go against people's expectations. And in those moments where you have something that you really, really want to do, and you feel so afraid, whether it be through external factors like how other people view you, or internally anxieties you have about yourself or about the situation, those are the moments where you need to lean into yourself and do it, even if you're scared. And of course, there's a lot of different situations that make things practically difficult to do, whether it be, mentally related or emotionally related, spiritually related or physically related, or circumstantially related. Those are valid things, but I'm talking more so about the situations where all those things have aligned for you, and the only thing holding you back is really the fear of what you want to do. I think another thing that represents fear in my life is, I talked about it in my last video, me moving countries. I'm moving all the way across the planet in 3 weeks from now, and I'm terrified, really. The reasons I'm leaving my country are really out of fear, but I think that kind of fear is kind of different when it's more so existential and, the idea of rights being taken away and economic decline, and political decline further as well, right? But, aside from that, it almost held me back to not pursue one of my main life dreams of traveling the world when I'm able to, on a mental, physical, financial level. Like, I'm able to do it, and I know the main thing holding me back from wanting to pull the trigger for a long time, like mentally being like committed, like I am going to where I want to go, was the fear of, similarly like in college, disappointing others, particularly my mother, having to do something that would leave me very tired and scared and anxious and feeling alone, but ultimately something that I really want to do and I know I have to do for myself. Those are the moments where I have to lean into myself and tell myself that I am afraid, but it is who I am and it is what I need to do. Even though I feel exhausted with this whole situation in my life around having to leave, and I feel anxious and scared and just overall fearful. Those are the moments where, even though I feel afraid, I'm still gonna do it. Even if I fail, even if my fear is, I'm still gonna do it. I'm going to let myself fail. Because if I let my fear control me, then is that really living? If you're living within the bounds of what other people tell you should live and how you tell yourself you should live, even if it's against who you actually are, I don't think that's living. I think that's being alive. But I think to live is to take risks and let yourself fail and to do the things that you really care about, even if you do think that you could fail or it could put you in a position that would not be ideal. However, to be able to experience the true fruits of life, and particularly internal and external love, you have to put yourself in those positions where you can risk it. You can be afraid, but you can also love yourself and trust yourself enough to say, even if I'm afraid, I can still do it. If I could, have the viewer take away one thing from this video, I mean, obviously, I've said it a lot of times, if there's something in your life that you want to do, make actionable steps towards doing it. It's your time to do the things you want to do. We all die. We both know this. It happens, right? It's not a shock. But I think it's something to remember, not in every second of your life, I'm anxious about dying way, but in a way that it reframes your life and your meaning and what you should do. I had a moment the other day where I was looking at one of these beautiful shots with my friend that I took earlier, like in person. And like after we had left that area, I brought up the idea that even though in those moments I feel really joyful that I get to experience that, I also feel an amount of grief that I probably won't get to see that again. And I don't mean that in that I can't go back here. I could make my way here again if I wanted to. What I meant by that was that my time is finite and I can't spend forever at every place I love. And that I can see everything maybe if I really try, but really at most you can only see everything once. And there's fear in that, right? The fear of, well, if I can't see it all anyways, why should I even do it? Or the fear in that, I feel like I won't be able to see everything the ways I want to. But I think the real fear is that, having it be where it is finite and the experiences are finite, just like life. But it also gives it greater meaning, where it makes me appreciate those moments more than I would have otherwise, because I know I won't get to see it forever, and I probably won't get to see it again, but it makes those moments so much more sweet that I do get to see it and I do get to be there and appreciate it. And it makes those moments of fear, like me even being in Canada right now and having to leave behind my life in the US until I'm, heading forward to my next adventure. It makes that fear I felt all the more worth it, that now I get to have moments where I appreciate it and see the other side of the fear, that, that mountain of fear. You have to climb it, and climbing up is the most difficult part, and it makes you feel anxious. But once you get to the top, you can actually see everything else that you need to see. And I feel like I've been having those moments a lot recently. I do hope that if you made it all the way through, that you are having a great day, and I hope your life is going as well as it can. And if it isn't, you are not alone. Even if you feel physically alone, in this world, you're never alone. And I'll always, be here, and I'll still make videos. And, if it's something that you want to talk about, I love talking to people. If you happen to see this somehow, whether it be in days, weeks, or months after I post this. So just know that there's always friends out there, and you will find your people, but you have to let yourself get past the fear of finding other people, in terms of the fear of putting yourself out there as well, if that's something you have. All right, that's been my second video. This has been Grey Cat or Alexa, and I'll see you later. I love you. Bye.